think it was in June 2022, one of the workshops that services trains in Poland contacted us that they conducted a service of a subset of trains, and after this service the train stopped working, and they stopped working in a very suspicious way, and after doing a lot of debugging they just couldn't find anything in the system, so they contacted Dragon Sector, and originally we suspected there's just some kind of bug in the software that prevents the train from running, but yep, what we found was much worse. So basically we found a whole set of functionalities that were designed specifically to make a train inoperable if it's serviced in a third-party workshop. The computer was explicitly telling the engineer that everything is perfect, all the starting conditions are met, and the train is ready to start, but it wouldn't.
Like, the problem here in this whole story for me is that the owner of the trains, they weren't able to verify what they actually bought. Like, all the buyers, for example, buy the trains without source code and even without access to the binary blobs. Like, they get the hardware specification, but they have no idea what software is running inside. So they basically have to trust the manufacturer. Auditing this independently is quite hard, both in terms of security and in terms of backdoors. In this answering this question, there are two things. One thing is how to access the code and whether this is protected. And the first step was very easy. Like, it wasn't really protected. So you can both download the code from the PLC and upload some changes. So there's basically no protection against this. The only protection is physical. Like, you need basically the key to the driver's segment.
That's why we were quite quickly able to just dump the firmware, which was not encrypted at all, not obfuscated.
And the other code itself is hard to reverse engineer. So that was probably the hardest part of the project from our side, but mostly because the CPU architecture was exotic, but it wasn't like made on purpose to be hard to reverse engineer. It's
obfuscation by design.
Yeah, one idea is that it's easy to replace code on a train, so that's one problem. And also this air gapping is not really a thing in the trains. They have internet connection, and we are not sure how well everything is separated inside. That's something the train owners or the manufacturers should be auditing, like whether this separation is actually
done correctly.
Well done.
So the train operators like to have a centralized system to control all their trains. Like, they can upload new advertisements to the screens that display in the passenger sections. They can upload the new routes that then engineer can just choose. Okay, that's perfectly fine for having such a system and being able to see where your trains are and what is their performance. But then those systems should be perfectly isolated from the safety critical part of the train running systems. So you had this passenger information system and all the security stuff, and on the other hand you had this train control and management system, but there was this tiny device that was just bridging one of the CAN interfaces with UDP from the passenger information system. That's a potential way to interfere with the train running.
They can still audit, and I guess pressure the government to require more transparency. Because when the train owner wants to do a security audit, but just for manufacturers' lack of security awareness, it's still super hard to do right now without access to the source code. So, and even right now they don't even have access to the binary blobs. So basically they have no introspection into what they actually bought.
Yeah, and the problem also in this specialized train market is that manufacturers follow some centralized rules and requirements, either done by government or European Union or whatever, and they just stick to this. They do a bare minimum to meet all the requirements, because they are not eager to implement any state-of-the-art security measures or anything, because it's not required. What we would love to see is some increase of awareness. What could have helped here, at least a simple but strict version control, so the owner would be aware of what software at what point runs in a train, because we saw an unregistered updates of the train control software that happened a few days before going to the service.
Yeah, like some way to, maybe the PLC should be better at registering everything what's happening, or
rail market being quite behind of the security standards. Version control is like basic standard for all IT companies for, like, I don't know, at least 20 years.
yeah, just like having the PLC having a like guarded log of changes, that would change a lot. Because right now the Selectron CPU they use, it has like a very simple log of changes, but it's very easy to upload a change without inserting a new entry, because it's not well written. So it's very easy to falsify this. If someone else replaces the code in the PLC, it's possible to do it without leaving any trace in the logs. So the train owner doesn't know the right version of the software, and the manufacturer doesn't provide any tools to dump the software and compare if it matches the expected one. So if someone replaces the code, like, there's nothing in the logs, there's no way for the train owner to detect that the train was modified. So it's a pretty bad state right now.
Strict version control, increasing awareness of both operators, owners, and actually manufacturers, that they should inform and track all the changes introduced, and check what's connected with what, and be aware that correcting any safety critical part of the system that has access to the internet, or even not a direct access, just some VPN to your internal servers, may not be a good idea. Because yes, even if you think that you are just protected from everything you can imagine, you are probably not, and just be careful and check again that you know what's happening in your trains. Don't trust anybody.
Yeah, and don't trust the manufacturers. Just double check everything.